Hola bonitas, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a review comparison wear test on the e.l.f. Liquid Poreless Putty Primer versus the OG Putty Primer. So I actually just did a review on this Liquid Putty Primer. And to be completely honest, for me personally, I didn't see the biggest difference using it. So I asked you guys, would you guys want to see me compare them? And you guys said yes. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna sit here and compare these two. So let's just go ahead and get right into the video because I'm super excited and very curious to see how these are going to perform side by side. So keep watching so you guys can get all the tea on the new e.l.f. Putty Primer versus the OG e.l.f. Putty Primer. Okay, bonitas, so it is early today and I have here my cafecito helado. I actually mixed my La Colombe cold brew with horchata, like homemade horchata I had. This has been my go-to. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Instead of using creamer and milk and all that, like I just mix it with horchata. Literally the best. It beats any creamer. We're gonna get right to comparing these primers. I just went ahead and moisturized and all that. I worked out this morning, then I showered, and now I have this face ready to try on these primers. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna start off with the OG. You guys know the OG Putty Primer comes in this almost like balm-like consistency. This is one that a lot of people love, and I am going to just apply it like this, and then what we're gonna do is we are just going to tap that into our skin. I personally have a lot of texture. I do have enlarged pores, especially around my nose. And this consistency of the OG Putty Primer, even though it is in that like balm consistency, it is a really nice creamy consistency. It does give you that really good creaminess. It is a little bit thicker than the liquid one, I will say that. But I would say the best way to really get this to work with you is kind of like blend it out with your fingertips and just kind of tap it into the skin, and you will start to see how it works. I always like to apply this type of primer literally in this area right here, because I feel like that's where I need like the most poreless finish, and also that's kind of where I want my texture to be a little bit more minimized. And the one thing I will say I appreciate about the e.l.f. Putty Primers is that the OG especially, like I do feel like it does a good job of giving me like that natural lightweight minimizing of the pores, and it just like goes really nicely with my foundation. So I've always appreciated that. So here we have the OG Putty. You guys can see this is the difference between having the putty and having nothing on. You can see there's much more radiance coming through on this side, and I feel like this side kind of like shows the texture a little bit more. So now we have here the e.l.f. Liquid Putty Primer. This is the one that just came out, also retails for $10. This one on the back says, get the same lasting makeup grip and smooth as the fan favorite, which is this one, but now this comes in a silky, weightless form. So yeah, this is more of a creamy, thicker consistency. The one we have on this side, this one's going to be more of that liquidy consistency, and you guys are about to see that right here. Les voy a enseñar. You guys see it's coming out super quickly, like that. Much more liquidy, and we are just going to do the same thing. It literally looks like glue. Okay, and we're just going to apply it aquí. You guys can see how it kind of gives you a more hydrating effect and much more liquidy. It is very lightweight. You guys can see. That's one thing I mentioned in the review that I did on this product, was how impressed and shocked I was that it was really liquidy, because whenever I see like anything that's like smoothing or poreless, I automatically think it's gonna be like a little bit of a thicker consistency, almost like more matte. But this one is like the opposite of any smoothing primers I've tried. This one is very liquidy, but I will say it blends out like moisturizer. Like it blends out really, really nicely and does give you like that silky finish. Now seeing it compared to the original one, I feel like the new one, I don't know what it is, gives me slightly more smoothing as it sets. Because when you first are applying it, it does kind of give you like that radiance. You guys can see, like it looks like it's going to be a very radiant consistency. But once it sets, like it sets to this. And another thing I will say about this is very runny. So you want to make sure you always put the cap on because there's product running constantly on. You do not need a lot of product. With this, a little bit of this goes a very long way. And it's also very easy to blend out. And that's something that I do appreciate. Do you guys see? Like once you blend it completely, it definitely blends into almost that like soft silky finish. And right here, my skin does feel very, very soft and silky. I definitely do feel like this offers me slightly more smoothing results than this one. One thing I will say from both of them, to be completely honest, I don't notice extreme difference on my pores. I'm not seeing like extreme difference. You guys can still see my enlarged pores in this area right here. This one, I feel like it did a better job at it, but I definitely do feel like it gives you almost like that natural finish. So don't expect like that like silicone-y smoothing effect from these because it's not going to give you that. One more thing I do want to say before I leave is that now that I'm seeing kind of how they compare and contrast, especially since in my review on this, I did say that I was expecting it to be more smoothing, but once I see it against the original one, I can see the improvements they've made on this, and I do appreciate that from a brand. I love when brands make improvements in their products, and I definitely do feel like I'm seeing the improvement because you guys can see the difference here. Like once comparing it to something else, I'm like, okay, now I can see the difference. I did want to show you guys what I am wearing for my base. I'm wearing the Summer Fridays Skin Tint. This is like my favorite summer product. I'm actually almost out of it. I do have this one in, I'm pretty sure this is the shade 6. It doesn't tell me here. I'm pretty sure this is the shade 6. I'll have it linked down below. But I am just going to apply this on both sides, like so. And then I am going to blend it out. I will say the one thing I do appreciate about these primers is that they are very lightweight. So when you do layer things on top, you do not have any pilling. So everything just goes on very nicely on top of the primers. And like I said, I have been very into skin tints lately. So with wearing a skin tint, especially when you have lots of texture like me, enlarged pores, and oily skin, it's definitely great to have a primer that is going to smooth, minimize those pores, and also really grip the makeup for a long wear. I do feel like on this side with the original one, you can see my pores a little bit more than on the side. I'm using the new liquid poreless one for the second time. I'm like, wait, it's actually not as non-noticeable as I thought it was. So we have that. So you guys can see all blending really nicely. And I'm just gonna do the forehead, but it looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the rest of my makeup, and then I'll come back and show you guys how this all looks once all my makeup's on the face. But I just wanted to show you guys what I am wearing for my base today, and also show you guys how it all blends out. So I am back. On this side we have the new liquid putty primer. On this side we have the original putty primer. Y así es como se ve la cara. This is what we're looking like. So honestly, I will say this. After trying the new putty primer and also using the original putty primer, I feel like you can't tell the biggest difference once you have on all your makeup. I feel like it's before you put on all your makeup and when you just put on foundation that you can see the biggest difference with the makeup. But the part that's really gonna tell us which one has better longevity is definitely the wear test, which is what we're doing right now. Right now it is 12:07, it is noon. But I will say, I feel like both sides do look fairly similar. If I had to say which one looks a little bit more smoothing, I probably would honestly go with this side. I feel like it looks a little bit more just like smooth and silky. On this side, I feel like right here especially, you can see my texture a little bit more. Vamos a ver cómo nos va. But right now I'm not seeing the biggest difference between these two. What I will say though is that I do appreciate the fact that e.l.f. always continuously makes improvements in their products, and I think it's great that they came out with a liquid formula for those people who are looking for a liquid consistency over a balm. This one, you have to keep in mind that because it is like this like balm consistency, you either have to go with your fingers, a spatula, or whatever it may be. Some people don't like to use, you know, those type of things. Some people just would rather go in with the product and then apply them back of your hand and bam. I just feel like for those people who may have liked this formula but don't like this consistency, this may be a better option for them. I also do feel like this is great for people that want more so of that pore minimizing and want that smoothing, but don't want it to feel like thick and heavy, or they have like really dry skin and they want something more hydrating. I do feel like this one is more hydrating than the original Putty primer, but I feel like right now, once I have makeup on, I'm not seeing the biggest difference between the two. They both look very similar to me. So we shall see how they do with longevity and which one just wears better longer. So I'm gonna go ahead and carry on with the rest of my day, and I will see you guys al ratito. I'll also do an in natural lighting clip so you guys can see how this looks up close and personal in the natural light, and all of that good stuff. Here we are in natural lighting. I needed to show mis bonitas, so here is with the new liquid poreless primer. Here is with the OG. Let me know if you think one side looks better than the other once the makeup is on. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I am back. It is now 8:21 p.m. y quiero hablar sobre estos primers. So on this side we have the new e.l.f. liquid putty primer, and on this side we have the OG putty primer. Como pueden ver, I mainly applied the primer right here, and I have to say I feel like both sides look similar in terms of how they look. I feel like maybe this one looks a little bit better in this area where I applied it than this one. This one looks a little bit more obvious where we do have like the enlarged pores and the texture. This one looks slightly smoother. If you guys saw my review on this primer, I felt like it didn't do the biggest difference. But I feel like now seeing it side by side to the OG, I feel like they are similar. But if I had to say one looks slightly better side by side, I think this one does look slightly better, which is good because it shows that e.l.f. does make improvements as they have like those fan favorites, which this one is a fan favorite, and they make an aim to make their products better, which is always a plus, especially at the $10 price, which both of these are $10. I would say obviously the biggest difference is that this formula is a liquid formula. This is more of like that creamy balm formula. This is more lightweight and silky. And I feel like this one gives you more so of just that creamy with a velvety finish. And I did say in the video where I reviewed this that I felt like the original one was better, but now seeing them side by side, I definitely do feel like the consistency just looks a little tiny bit more silkier on this side. So definitely let me know your thoughts. Let me know which one you'll be picking up. I definitely do feel like if you have more dryness, I would probably recommend this one. And then if you have like more so normal to like oily skin, I think the texture of this goes on really nice. It just really depends your preference. For me personally, as somebody that does have a very oily T-zone, I would use this type of primer on these areas where I have more enlarged pores and I want more smoothness. And then on the oily T-zone, I would go in with a really good mattifying primer. My favorite mattifying primer is the one by Milk. This one is great for that oily T-zone. Another one that I really like is the Makeup Forever mattifying primer. That one's also really good if you do have very oily skin. I do have to say, after using this again, I'm happy that I gave it a second shot, because in my first review that I just did on this one alone, I definitely feel like I wasn't seeing the biggest difference. But now that I'm using it again, I definitely do see a difference between this and this once on. Nothing major. I still think you get similar results in terms of like how it wears, but I definitely do feel like this is more so like new and improved. So those are pretty much all my thoughts. I hope that this video was super helpful for you guys if you guys are looking to purchase one or the other, or want to see if perhaps you need to upgrade to this if you already have this. If you guys enjoyed watching this review comparison video, please give it a big thumbs up. It lets me know to continue doing at least other videos for you guys. Don't forget to stay safe, stay blessed, and stay beautiful. Nos vemos pronto. Adios.